He stood just 5 feet 6 inches tall, yet he cast a shadow across an entire continent. They called him the Little Corporal, but he became an emperor who redrew the map of Europe. Napoleon Bonaparte wasn't born into royalty or privilege. He rose from a modest Corsican family to become one of the most powerful men in history. His story is one of ambition, genius, and an unquenchable thirst for glory that changed the world forever. Napoleon was born on August 15, 1769, on the island of Corsica, just a year after France acquired it from Italy. His family belonged to the minor Italian nobility, but they were far from wealthy. Young Napoleon grew up speaking Corsican and Italian before learning French, the language of his future empire. He attended military school in mainland France, where his classmates mocked his accent and foreign origins. But Napoleon possessed something they didn't: an insatiable hunger to prove himself and a brilliant tactical mind that would soon astonish the world. The French Revolution of 1789 created chaos throughout France, but it also created opportunities. The old order crumbled, and merit suddenly mattered more than birthright. Napoleon seized this moment. He distinguished himself as an artillery officer during the siege of Toulon in 1793, where his tactical brilliance helped recapture the city from royalist forces. He was just 24 years old when he received his promotion to brigadier general. France had found a military prodigy at exactly the moment it needed one. But Napoleon's true genius emerged during the Italian campaign of 1796. The French Directory sent him to lead a ragged, underfed army against the Austrians in northern Italy. What happened next seemed impossible. Napoleon transformed these demoralized troops into a formidable fighting force through sheer force of personality and tactical innovation. He moved his armies with unprecedented speed, striking where enemies least expected. He won battle after battle: Montenotte, Lodi, Arcole, Rivoli. Within a year, he forced Austria to sign a humiliating peace treaty. Napoleon returned to Paris as a national hero, and he was still only 27 years old. In 1798, Napoleon embarked on the Egyptian campaign, an ambitious attempt to threaten British interests in the East. Though ultimately unsuccessful militarily, this expedition revealed another dimension of Napoleon's character. He brought scientists, scholars, and artists along with his soldiers. They discovered the Rosetta Stone, which would later unlock the secrets of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Napoleon understood that glory came not just from conquest, but from advancing human knowledge. He saw himself as a new Alexander the Great, spreading civilization alongside French power. While Napoleon campaigned in Egypt, France descended into political turmoil. The Directory government proved weak and corrupt, unable to address the nation's mounting problems. Napoleon returned to France in October 1799 and found a country desperate for strong leadership. On November 9, 1799, he staged a coup known as the 18th Brumaire. He overthrew the Directory and established the consulate, with himself as first consul. Napoleon had effectively become the ruler of France. Democracy gave way to autocracy, but many French citizens welcomed the stability he promised after a decade of revolutionary chaos. As first consul, Napoleon achieved something perhaps more lasting than any military victory: the Napoleonic Code. Completed in 1804, this comprehensive legal framework revolutionized French law and influenced legal systems worldwide. The code established equality before the law, protected property rights, and created a merit-based society. It abolished feudal privileges and guaranteed religious tolerance. Even today, the legal systems of dozens of countries from Louisiana to Japan bear Napoleon's influence. He once said, "My true glory is not to have won 40 battles. Waterloo will erase the memory of so many victories. But what nothing will destroy, what will live forever, is my civil code." History proved him remarkably prescient. On December 2, 1804, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of the French in an elaborate ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral. Pope Pius VII attended, but Napoleon placed the crown on his own head, symbolizing that he owed his power to no one but himself. The Corsican outsider had reached the pinnacle of European society. He established a new nobility based on merit rather than birth, rewarding his most capable generals and administrators. Napoleon was building an empire, and he wanted it to last for generations. Enjoying the video? Please support the channel by subscribing. The years from 1805 to 1807 marked the zenith of Napoleon's military power. At Austerlitz in December 1805, he won perhaps his greatest victory, crushing a combined Austrian and Russian army in what became known as the Battle of the Three Emperors. His tactical genius was on full display as he deliberately weakened his center to lure enemies into a trap, then struck their flanks with devastating force. He defeated Prussia at Jena in 1806, then forced Russia to negotiate after Friedland in 1807. By 1807, Napoleon dominated continental Europe from Spain to Poland. Only Britain remained beyond his grasp, protected by the English Channel and the Royal Navy. Napoleon's ambition extended beyond military conquest. He reformed education, establishing lycées and specialized schools that trained France's future leaders. He rebuilt Paris with grand monuments and boulevards. He stabilized the French economy and reconciled with the Catholic Church through the Concordat of 1801, healing wounds from the Revolution. He introduced the metric system and reorganized France's administration into departments that still exist today. Napoleon wasn't just a conqueror, he was a state builder who modernized France and spread revolutionary ideals across Europe. But Napoleon's empire contained the seeds of its own destruction. His continental system, designed to economically strangle Britain by banning trade, hurt European economies more than it helped. His placement of relatives on foreign thrones bred resentment. Nationalist movements began emerging in conquered territories, particularly in Spain, where French occupation sparked a brutal guerrilla war. Napoleon's greatest mistake, however, came in 1812 when he invaded Russia with over 600,000 soldiers, the largest army Europe had ever seen. The Russian campaign of 1812 became Napoleon's catastrophe. The Russians refused to fight pitched battles, instead retreating deeper into their vast territory. They burned crops and villages, leaving nothing for French soldiers to requisition. Napoleon reached Moscow in September, but found the city abandoned and burning. With no Russian surrender forthcoming and winter approaching, Napoleon ordered a retreat. The withdrawal became a nightmare. Russian forces harassed the Grande Armée constantly, while brutal cold and starvation decimated its ranks. Of the 600,000 men who entered Russia, fewer than 100,000 returned. Napoleon's aura of invincibility shattered in the Russian snow. Europe's monarchs sensed weakness and formed a new coalition against France. Despite winning several battles in 1813, Napoleon couldn't overcome the combined forces arrayed against him. In April 1814, his marshals forced him to abdicate. The victorious Allies exiled him to Elba, a small island off the Italian coast. They restored the Bourbon monarchy in France, attempting to turn back the clock to before the Revolution. But they had underestimated Napoleon's determination and his hold on French imagination. On March 1, 1815, Napoleon escaped Elba and landed in southern France with just over 1,000 men. As royal troops sent to arrest him approached, Napoleon walked forward alone and declared, "Soldiers of the 5th Regiment, here is your emperor. If there is one among you who wishes to kill his emperor, here I am." The soldiers cheered and joined him. This scene repeated itself as Napoleon marched toward Paris. King Louis XVIII fled, and Napoleon reclaimed his throne without firing a shot. The 100 Days had begun. But Europe's powers would not accept Napoleon's return. They assembled armies to crush him once and for all. Napoleon marched into Belgium to strike before his enemies could unite. On June 18, 1815, near a small Belgian village called Waterloo, Napoleon fought his final battle. Despite tactical errors and bad luck, the battle remained close until Prussian reinforcements arrived and turned the tide. Napoleon's army collapsed, and his dreams of restored glory died on that muddy battlefield. This time, the British exiled him to St. Helena, a remote island in the South Atlantic. He would never escape again. Napoleon spent his final years on St. Helena dictating memoirs and reflecting on his extraordinary life. He died on May 5, 1821, probably from stomach cancer, though conspiracy theories about poisoning persist. He was 51 years old. Even in death, Napoleon remained controversial. Some saw him as a tyrant whose ambition caused millions of deaths. Others viewed him as a champion of revolutionary ideals who spread Enlightenment values across Europe. The truth, as always, is complicated. Napoleon's legacy extends far beyond his military campaigns. He modernized European governance and law. His reforms destroyed feudalism in much of Europe and promoted ideas of equality and meritocracy. He inadvertently stimulated nationalism in conquered territories, a force that would reshape Europe throughout the 19th century. Military academies still study his campaigns as masterpieces of strategy and tactics. His life demonstrates how one individual's talent and ambition can reshape history. Today, Napoleon remains one of history's most studied and debated figures. Was he a hero or a villain, a liberator or a tyrant? Perhaps he was both. He rose from obscurity through talent and determination, embodying the revolutionary ideal that merit should triumph over birth. Yet his imperial ambitions and authoritarian rule contradicted revolutionary principles of liberty. He modernized Europe while causing devastating wars that killed millions. Napoleon Bonaparte was brilliantly complex, neither wholly good nor wholly evil, but undeniably great in his impact on human history. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more.